I want to share with all of you a moment that you've all experienced. And in fact, I would like for you to stare at the screen and together let us feel the terror. Some of you might call this the oh sheet moment. Now, if you Google empty toilet paper rolls, you might find a few things. You find apologies. You find challenges. What would MacGyver do? But you know something? I wonder what Jeff Bezos would do, founder of Amazon. At Jeff's house, the toilet paper is never empty. Because Jeff invented something called the Amazon Dash Button. This little button, you can place it right beside the household throne, and as soon as you press it, a new roll or new package of toilet paper is on its way via Amazon Prime. Imagine that. There are no oh sheet moments at Jeff Bezos' house. I want to tell you another story. Instead of talking about Jeff Bezos, I want to talk about a piece of technology that many of you may be familiar with. It's a very advanced piece of technology. A telephone. Yes, I am young enough to remember these telephones. In the summer of 1982, a young high school junior named Michael took a job for the Houston Post. He was given one of those telephones I just showed you, and Michael's job was to sell as many subscriptions to the Houston Post as he could. In fact, he was given a list of brand new phone numbers and told to smile. What's the next part of that? And dial. And so Michael did this, and after a few weeks, he realized a pattern. First of all, people who were buying the paper tended to be a part of one of two groups. They were either newly married or they had recently purchased a home. So instead of calling all of these numbers, Michael did what every enterprising young person would do. He hired a high school sophomore to find out all the possible places he could find lists of people who were recently married or recently purchased a new home. And instead of just calling them randomly, he wrote them a letter. He congratulated them on his accomplishment, and unlike the letter you see here today, it had words on it. I have it on my monitor anyways. So anyways, Michael, that summer, turned out to be the Houston Post best salesperson that summer. He turned out to be the best salesperson for the entire year, but he only worked for 3 months. In fact, that summer he earned a commission of $18,000, which was more than his high school economics teacher made in a year. Anyone want to guess who we're talking about? Here's a hint. We're talking about Michael Dell. And in that moment working for the Houston Post, he learned the importance of segmentation, the importance of connecting with the right customer at the right time. And that knowledge carried all the way through to when he put together Dell as a computer company. And you'll notice he always divided. You have your home line, you have your gaming line, you have your business line of computers. He did that to segment the product for the right customer. And so the lesson here is that customer segmentation is nothing new. In fact, segmentation is at the heart of what we do as great marketers. Before we go any further, I feel like I should introduce myself further. I am Evan Carroll. This is a wonderfully photoshopped photo of me. I am author of 2 technology books, and as Meredith mentioned, have appeared on numerous media outlets. But the thing that I enjoy most about what I get to do is coming into rooms like this and sharing stories with you that help you understand how technology can help you better connect with your customers. So we're going to dive in, and I'd like to tell you about a concept called InfoSense. InfoSense was coined by a company called trendwatching.com. And it means to use data about a customer to understand what they need and when they need it, with the ultimate goal of personalizing their service. Now, many of you like to say that personalization is the new marketing. I disagree with that because business was always personal. Roll, say 100 years ago, if a business wronged you, every single person in town knew about it by Sunday services. Am I right? And we went through this time where we used technology to scale our businesses, to serve as many customers as possible. And the humanity left business, right? We had to fit into the system. We had to fit into the mold. And then social media arrived. Now, if a company wrongs us, everyone will know about it by Sunday service. United Airlines, anyone? So Jack Welch perhaps said it best. He said there are two keys to competitive advantage. The first, learn more about your customers faster than your competition. And second, put those insights into work faster than the competition. Insights into actions. Well, I'll tell you about a company called Westpac. Westpac is the third largest bank in Australia and New Zealand. I don't happen to have any offshore accounts, but if you are interested in them, Westpac might be a great place for them. In fact, Westpac processes over 100 million transactions in a given month. And what they've learned to do with this data, they can look and see at what phase of life you might be in, based upon the accounts you have, based upon the transactions that you're performing. What they did with this data is most impressive. Instead of using it to target their next marketing campaign, they decided to launch what's called the Westpac Know Me program. And for every single Westpac customer, they have what's called a next best offer. So the system that the tellers and the phone support agents use list the next best offer inside that system. And every single person at Westpac is trained to deliver that next best offer. Now in marketing, what do you feel like a good conversion percentage would be? You've got all the way at the top of the funnel, all the way at the bottom, the number of people who would buy. What's a good percentage? Anyone? 2%. 2% is a great number. You're hitting your bonus at 2% and you're getting a promotion at 5%. Does that sound right? What about the other 95%? I call them the annoyed majority. They're the people we had to irritate relentlessly to get that 2% or 5% conversion. So what's interesting about our friends at Westpac, they converted over 40% of their next best offers. 40%. And you might say, well, that's great. That equaled $22 million in sales, in revenue, not in deposits, in revenue in just 1 year. So understanding your customer at a larger scale is very possible, and it has major impacts on the bottom line. So Stan talked about the purple goldfish. You might be wondering, why a blue goldfish? If you're like me, you have trouble keeping up with which color means what and which one I should wear on any given day. However, blue goldfish is all about technology, data, and analytics. And to understand the origin of blue, we have to rewind to the 10th century. I'd like to introduce you to Danish King Harald Gormundsen. Harald Gormundsen. Now, King Harald was known for many things. He was known for bringing the Danes to Christianity. He was known for uniting all of Scandinavia. But he was also known for a tooth that had gone dead. And it turned blue in color. And in his language, they referred to him as Blatan, which literally translates blue tooth. Now, in the mid-1990s, the engineers were getting together to put together the Bluetooth standard. Who here knows what Bluetooth is? It's that thing that lets you talk on your phone in your car, does all sorts of wonderful things for you. The idea was, how can we build a network that's a personal area network? And there were multiple companies coming together. Ericsson was there. Too bad they're no longer with us. Sony was there. They're kind of no longer with us. IBM was there. Hey, we still have IBM. But the companies came together to put together this standard. Two of the engineers were drinking one night. No one could figure out what they should call this thing. So those drinking engineers, one of them said, I read this story about this Danish king with a blue tooth. The other one exclaimed, that's what we should call the project. Project Bluetooth. Well, the marketers in the room, they said, we'll never call it Bluetooth. Well, we'll figure out a better name for it before we go to market. They never did. Bluetooth stuck as the name. And so in the same way that those companies came together, we believe the coming together of technology, data, and analytics to improve a personal experience is our inspiration for the Blue Goldfish. Now, fun fact, King Harold Gormanson, if you take a Nordic H for Harold and you superimpose it over a Nordic B for Blaton, you get the iconic Bluetooth logo that you see. So if you've learned nothing else in this presentation today, you know what that logo means. But what I would hope you would do is look to what we call the 3 R's of a blue goldfish. I'm going to go through them today. The very first, and all this is based upon IBM research, 76% of consumers expect organizations to understand their individual needs. This is the relationship we have with our customers. Also in this study, 81% expect improved response times. Anyone have an R for response times? This is an easy one. Responsiveness. And finally, this is my favorite, 68% anticipate organizations will harmonize their customer experience. In the same way that a conductor stepping up to the orchestra has everyone play the same note. They're in harmony. So the expectation is that the organization, no matter what part of the organization you're working within, is ready when the customer comes calling, or even anticipates that customer's needs in advance. So 3 R's, relationship, responsiveness, and readiness. And these are the core concepts of Blue Goldfish. I'm going to start by talking about relationship, and this time I'm going to tell you a story of a guy named Doug Logue. Doug Logue is a typical American husband, and I know that is true because he ran off to Toronto for a bachelor party weekend. And he had an itching feeling the entire time he was gone. Just before another round of drinking, as was scheduled, he realized what he was forgetting. The day he returned was his wife's birthday. And he had not purchased her anything. Doug panicked. Ran down to the lobby, got on the computer, went to the website of this fine brand. Tory Burch, I see some nods. It was a good choice, wasn't it, ladies? Meredith wants some. He ordered a pair of shoes that his wife wanted. And then he ran off to drink. Now, Doug had all sorts of technology problems. He was out of the country, so his phone wasn't working properly. He also had problems with his credit card because he was out of the country. Doug was not in a good place, technically speaking. But imagine his panic when he gets the order confirmation and it says it will arrive after his wife's birthday. Meredith, what would happen if your birthday present came the day after your birthday? She's just nodding her head no. Not at all. So anyways, what did Doug do? As soon as he got back home, he ran to a Tory Burch store, told the lady his problems, and Michelle, the representative in the store, she responded, "It's okay, Doug, we'll take care of this. Just bring in those other shoes when they come in. We'll do an even exchange." As he was trying to work out the transaction, his credit card failed, and he was frustrated, and Michelle said, "Don't worry about it. Here, you can use the phone to get this sorted out." And by the way, here's a Corona you can drink while you're doing it. Now, you might think the story could end there, and it could. But a few days later, Doug and his wife came back in. They swapped out the shoes. And Michelle took note of what Doug's wife looked at in the store. And a few days later, Doug received a phone call from Michelle. Said, "Hey, Doug, this is Michelle from Tory Burch. I wanted to let you know that the scarf your wife was looking at, it's now on sale. Would you like for me to get that set up for you?" Doug was flabbergasted. How did Michelle remember him? It turns out that Tory Burch has an application called Client Book. And for every single customer who comes in their store or who does business on their website, their purchase history, their sizes, all of those things are stored inside of Client Book. So all Michelle has to do is look and see the profile for Doug's wife, and she knows exactly what Doug should buy her for a gift. In fact, I heard of one lady who dragged her husband into a Tory Burch store, looked at the sales representative and said, "What did you do to him?" Because this was the first time in 30 years that he got it right. All thanks to Client Book. Now that's a fun story, but what does it do for the bottom line? It turns out that users of Client Book have an average order value that is 62% higher than other customers. We don't know the exact dollars, but that's money you can take to the bank. So a second R is responsiveness. We'll talk about Jeff Bezos again for a moment. It was March. I get March and October confused. Doesn't matter to you, but I do. It was March 31st, about 3 years ago. And in the press was a brand new Kindle Fire HDX tablet. And all the press were saying, this is a good tablet. It has the right speed, it has the right screen size, everything is good about this tablet. However, Jeff Bezos added one feature, and that's called the Mayday Button. Who here has used a Mayday Button before? None of you. This is fun. So when you press the Mayday Button, you are connected within 10 seconds to a support representative who can hear you. You see video of them. They can even draw on your screen and show you how to use your device. Now, thankfully, your camera is not activated, so if you want to flash an Amazon support representative, you're going to have to do it some other way. But what's interesting about this is on March 31st, you know what the press said? They admonished Amazon for coming out with their April Fool's joke early. They said there's no way that you can connect via video to a support representative in less than 10 seconds. I mean, you can't even get through a phone queue in less than a minute. And it's true. Amazon has not delivered on the 10-second promise. The yearly average is actually 8 seconds. 8 seconds to get help. Now, how does this affect Amazon's bottom line? If you know how to use their tablet, what do you buy? You buy more books, you buy more movies, you buy more songs. You buy more by knowing how to use that tablet. Does having to wait another 20 seconds affect the bottom line? You bet it does. So finally, I'll talk about readiness. I mentioned that readiness was my favorite of the 3 R's. And to talk about readiness, we need to go to the happiest place on earth. Walt Disney World, of course. Now, one of the things you might not know about Walt Disney World is they are constantly looking at their business to find ways to bring you back to the park. It goes all the way back to the 1950s when they first started Disneyland in California. And in 2008, Disney realized they had a problem. Families were coming to Disney World, and they weren't coming back. Who's going to pay Mickey Mouse? So the executives got together and they launched what was called the Disney Next Generation Experience Project. And they sought to use all the data they collected to improve the experience someone has inside the park. In fact, you may not know this, but deep below Cinderella Castle is the Disney Operational Command Center, a literal war room for the Magic Kingdom. And this guy in the pink, that's Phil Holmes. Phil has, in my opinion, the very best job title in the world. Vice President of the Magic Kingdom. That's a job I want. In fact, his office is above the bakery on Main Street. The perk of his job is a parade by his window 3 times a day. Now, Phil's a wonderful individual. He's actually been at Disney since the very first day they opened the Magic Kingdom in Florida. His first job was driving one of those water taxis across the pond there, and then he became a greeter at the Haunted Mansion. His job was to say, "We've been expecting you," as guests go by. Anyways, he's worked his way up and now is managing all of the Magic Kingdom. I don't know why you didn't see this, but there he is. There's Doug. Excuse me, Phil. But as a part of that, the Imagineers got together and said, we need to make the experience easier to come to Walt Disney World. In fact, the last time I was there, my sister was the self-appointed chairperson of our Disney contingent. And in my family, what that means is you do what the chairperson says or you're out. I don't know what happens if you get out. All I know is that I faked a bathroom break to get a Mickey Mouse ice cream. True story. Now, one of the things that Disney realized is it was so difficult to work around the park. You had families putting together massive schedules. You had families who took the fastest runner, and they would run in the park as soon as they opened to visit all the Fast Pass stations to make sure you could go to the right rides at the right times. So Disney said, that's too much. And they came out with something called the Magic Band. Who here has seen a Magic Band before? So a Magic Band replaces a photo pass, your park ticket, the key to your room, money, and even your Fast Pass for the rides. Literally everything you do inside of a Disney property can be done from your Magic Band. I'm told that it works a whole lot better than the analog alternative. Unfortunately, the Magic Band got me because I paid for that Disney ice cream cone with my Magic Band, and I was found out when the bill came in. That was an awkward conversation. Anyways, does anyone know in Disney World, whenever your Magic Band reads, what color does it turn when everything is good? Green. Right, they have these Mickey Mouse readers throughout the park. It turns green when everything is good. What happens when everything is not good? What color does it show up? Black? Did you hear red? You might assume red. Red's the color that something's wrong, but not at the happiest place on earth. There are no problems at the happiest place on earth, so it simply turns blue instead. One more thing about the Magic Band, and this is where it comes down to dollars. This is Disney's restaurant, Be Our Guest. And when you have a reservation at Be Our Guest, they ask you to pick your entree ahead of time. Or if you didn't do that, you can use a kiosk in the waiting area. And as soon as you sit down at your table, you are greeted by name, and your first course is served within minutes. What they're doing is they're using your Magic Band to figure out who you are, to personalize that experience for you. I'm told they're even working on ways to wish you a happy birthday, even though you're not wearing the massive button. But at Be Our Guest, they're looking and knowing when you're coming in the door. They know where you're sitting. They can start preparing your food before you've even taken a seat at the table. And if you've worked in the restaurant industry, what does it mean if guests are at the table for less time? Turnover. You can turn the tables faster. More people in the same amount of time equals, thank you, Deidre, more money. But the people there, they got a personalized experience. They never felt rushed because instead of removing the time that you would chat and enjoy yourself at dinner, they removed the waiting. They removed the time you didn't want to be spending. And so that is the nature of a blue goldfish. See, I told you I get the colors confused. That's the nature of a blue goldfish. Companies who are using technology to be more responsive, to have a deeper relationship with their customers, and improve the overall readiness in their organization.